everybody. Welcome to EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. Here on the EventSpeak network, we are an interview show talking with professionals across the entire ecosystem of the event industry on every level. We've been talking with folks just as things are so uncertain right now in our shared industries that EventSpeak is here to create a digital hub, a community, if you will, for the event industry to come together and create a dialogue. So you can find us on the web at eventspeak.com, and you'll find me there smiling at you like I am right now. Our guest today is a dear friend of mine that comes all the way from the Big Apple. She is the co-founder and principal of Fremont Blue Events. She's also strong in the New York art world, as she's Andy Warhol's goddaughter. Very interesting. And she's lovely, and I'm just delighted that she's with us today. Austin Fremont, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on EventSpeak.
Thank you for having me. Super flattered to be considered among the events professionals that you know. So happy to be here.
You definitely are, Austin. And, why don't we start out with just, you could tell folks a little bit about what Fremont Blue Events does and how you guys are starting to navigate through these uncertain waters of COVID-19 event atmosphere.
Sure. I founded my company along with a PR company called Blue Medium back in 2014 to service primarily the art and design industry with any size event. So from small dinners and press previews to large galas. We've since kind of branched out, still maintaining our brand ethos of creating change and experiences with our clients, and then our nonprofit clients as well as brands, and moving kind of into the activation space with people we believe in. Yeah, so we service actually quite a wide range of clients, from the LGBT Center, who we've been with since the first year we were in business, still are. We work with the Audubon Society on their conservation efforts with birds. We work with Maestro Cares, Mark Anthony's foundation, which builds schools and orphanages for youth all throughout South America, as well as the States. We work with the New Museum on both their openings and their gala. We work with glass blowing studios. So we really have a large, wide range of clients, which keeps us super inspired and busy throughout the year, typically. And we had quite an event season that was coming up with the spring gala season, and in tandem with, we've been doing a lot of work with Dick's Sporting Goods, and in particular Kalia by Carrie Underwood, and had a number of events scheduled with them as well. So how we're navigating this is an interesting question that we are, like everyone in the country and world, are kind of trying to navigate this as carefully as possible, with very limited ways to connect with people. But I go back to kind of the core of what we do, which is how we make people feel. That's really important to us at our events. So we take a very holistic approach to event planning. Right now we're focusing on a lot of just advising our clients on trends that are happening in terms of pushing galas, pushing events into 2021. Every month as this develops, we're having to, recalibrate and figure out the best move forward. So, we're kind of going day by day, really, really staying on top of CDC guidelines and advice from government that we trust, and on how to proceed safely, and so we can all party again. I'm dying for a party.
Yes. So it sounds like to me, you guys have kind of a versatile bandwidth for what you're doing, as far as from fundraisers and galas to the experiential aspect that you mentioned you're doing with Dick's and Carrie Underwood. I think that's very interesting. And you obviously, now are in these uncharted waters. What is the conversation like with your clients these days? Like, we were talking a little off camera, and you said something I really liked, because you had mentioned how, and this is something I strongly agree with, that, they're not just clients, you're partners with them. I'm sure they're coming to you guys the way that our clients do and want to know what's going on. What kind of advice are you trying to give them right now?
I think we're focusing on, besides like the logistical advice of, oh, everyone's moving to the spring and cancel this. We're trying to capitalize on things they can do to set themselves up for when this is back, when we are back to some semblance of normalcy. So what can you do from a fundraising perspective? Now, we are not fundraisers. We do not do that, but we often work in tandem with development departments to help raise money, right? That's the point of galas. So how can they engage their donors? What's a fun and sincere way to keep the people that support your organization engaged? How can we I really go back to that, people will always remember how you made them feel. They're not going to remember what exactly your post was or what you did, but they're going to remember how your organization was there for them during this super crazy time when no one really knows what's going on. And this is a time that you can really cultivate those relationships. People have time to talk on the phone like they didn't, in the beginning of March. You can have video calls, you can check in. I've been doing check-ins with all my vendors that we work with, really, what are they up to? But just, hey, how are you? Like, what are you doing as a person? And I think that is what a proactive way that you can engage people right now that's not focused on, you're always asking them for money, right? And here's a time where you can just ask them how they're doing. And I think that will help set my clients up for when they do, they still need money. But then when that ask comes a little bit later down, maybe the next week, maybe the next phone call, because all these, especially the LGBT Center, they see 60,000 plus unique visitors a week in their brick and mortar. People, that need support groups, people, transgender folks that need help navigating the health system. I mean, their services are literally impact life, they're critical. So they've done a tremendous job of shifting their services online, but they need to keep that funding going. And we had to cancel their biggest fundraiser of the year, which was slated for April. So, it's even though we are all in a very difficult financial position, there are certain organizations that really, are cornerstones in our society that keep people healthy.
Well said. Well said. And I think that that is something now where we're seeing at an unprecedented level, those organizations really being, put to the test and on the front lines. And I think it's important for all of us, especially as an industry, and something we talk a lot about on EventSpeak is uniting and supporting each other, as it is something where we're in very unprecedented waters. That seems to come up a lot. I'm curious now, you guys, every time I've ever talked to you, you're in 500 directions. Now clearly you're doing your client care, and you're doing the things that any good CEO or co-founder does to maintain, not only maintain those relationships, but like you said, it's about keeping a humanistic aspect to those relationships. It's what keeps people, I think, loyal. Like you said, it's about money, and it's about doing good business together. But as we are in these times where there's never been a time in recent history that anything like this has happened. No pandemic planning. And now here we are trying to figure it all out together. I'm curious now, I know you come from a strong background in the New York art world, from your pop, as well as being, Andy Warhol's goddaughter. How does that play into what you're doing on the creative side of when you're creating events and doing what you do with Fremont Blue Events.
Well, my mom always likes to say that I was never, when I didn't care to go to museums and I whined and I never wanted and I don't love art and I hate it, because you have to rebel against something, right?
Yes.
So, but as she's seen, I think art influences life constantly. Everything is, art is such a broad term. So I consider, when we do these build outs for Kalia by Carrie Underwood, there's art to that, in the details and how you put everything together. I mean, when you're doing these experiential events and this, how is someone going to take a picture of that cookie that you just had them decorate as one of the activities? What's the background? Did you give them a placemat in the same Pantone colors as one of the hero colors from that collection? Every aspect has to be camera ready and ready to be photographed, and kind of helping people figure out or giving your influencers the tools to get that post that you really want and that buzz. So there's certainly art injected besides the direct connection with the art world in terms of planning things for like the new museum, which is really a fun gala for me because I know a lot of the folks in the room, which also allows me to be casual when I'm trying to get them into their seats. It's every day, and I think it's been interesting to see how the art world's reacted from. Sorry.
No problem.
It's been interesting to see how the art world has reacted and how they've kind of gone online. I mean, now there are a variety of galleries that you can see their current exhibition online. I'm part of a art club, I guess you'd call it. She's probably going to kill me for calling that, but it's not. It's an art group called The Cultivist, and their whole mission is providing exclusive access to their members. So, like in the old world, BC before Corona, we used to go into the Met, before it opened, and you'd be the only one in there, and just these super cool experiences. And what they've done now is the studio visits that we would go on to talk to various artists in their place of where they create their work. They've done that online, so you can join online studio visits. I was in some webinar thing yesterday where they brought up, and I didn't even realize this, and I made a note to bring it up on here because I was so shocked that this is happening, but that the Met Museum is adding artwork to the background of Animal Crossing, if I had been sitting in that meeting with Animal Crossing and said, can you approach the Met for us and ask if we can integrate some of their collection into this video game, I would have told them that would be fun. I'd be scared. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, where you don't know where this is going. And anyone who says that they do know is I think a little crazy, because I think we're all navigating this together, right? This has been another phrase that I've heard recently that I really liked, is a radical reorganization, right? We're being forced into this space of rethinking. And as event producers, that is our job, right? We're problem solvers. You're rarely executing your plan A on site. So I think it's always been our job to be problem solvers and to be super nimble. And I think this is the true test. This is what is the workaround and what is safe? And I think about when we do get back to events, because we will one day. What does that look like in terms of safety? What extra measure of planning are we going to have to implement in terms of hygiene and safety? And also from a nonprofit perspective, where every dollar counts, what kind of impact is that going to have on the production value of the entire event if we have to allocate a sizable chunk to, PPE?
Yes, for sure. That's a conversation I've had with multiple folks, is that I think it's really important to remember the one prediction I feel that I can make, and that I think a lot of people agree with, is it is such an unknown going into post-COVID event atmosphere environment that we don't know, and it's not just going to be a thing where it gets dialed back to what it was like 3 months ago. I don't see it being this radical change, but you're absolutely right in the sense that, I think it's going to be a slow kind of reinstatement, if you will. And I think social distancing and extra measures for safety are going to probably remain in everyday life for quite some time, because if what the experts say is true, then there is a second wave of this that will come, and other pandemics to follow. So I'm hoping that not only as an industry, but as a country, that we're learning from this experience, that we can pivot, we can get in front of what's coming next. I think it's just going to be a thing where events will be kind of reimagined as we go about. 100% agree with you, Austin, that I think one thing that is very important from the people that are producing events to your staff that are on the ground executing these events is your ability to improvise and handle changes at the 13th hour. Well, I think as you said, BC, I'm going to use that, by the way, before Corona. I think that now we're in Corona. Who could have possibly predicted it? So we're in the 16th hour at this point, looking at a complete change across the board. Are you seeing any movement in the needle of brands or your clients starting to think about, like, hey, what can we do over the next few months?
Yeah, we've pitched a couple of ideas specifically to the Kalia by Carrie Underwood team, of how to kind of work around and have people do stuff from home, which I just saw we're not the only ones with that idea. There was a Bloomberg article and I was like, damn it, they beat us. And so that's no longer like that exciting, but yeah, we're not involved in the day-to-day. They never bring us in until like really far down the road, where there's, you have a week to produce an entirely custom built event. That's just how that goes. And I would die to have that stress as opposed to the stress that we have now with the unknown. But I think besides actually, talking about safety, like, besides actually taking people's physical temperature, there's an emotional temperature that we're going to have to be really in tune with when we proceed with any size event. We typically produce out in the Hamptons during the summer. And we're still in talks, hopefully, with, this garden that we've worked with. It's an artist residency, and well, not residency, it was an artist's residence, and beautiful organic garden in Sagaponack, and called the Madu Conservancy. And we're hoping that we can still do like a socially spaced small dinner series with folks spread throughout the garden, because it is outside. And hopefully that's something that we're able to move forward with, is, hopefully in August or early September, though like I said, I don't know. And so it's kind of just gearing up everything so that you can hit play when you're ready, but constantly being nimble and changing. And we are used to that. I can't tell you how many times we've redone the event day, hour of while guests are there to try and get it. And I think also we're used to having the answers, right? Because we're problem solvers and we know what to do and we know what our experience tells us. But I also think it's really important for people to know it's okay not to know. And I think in that vein of transparency with your clients, saying, I don't know the answer to that. Like, certainly we'll watch it. Certainly we're going to, we'll keep on top of that. But I think it's also okay to give yourself permission to, for once in your life, not know the answer.
Now more than ever, I would agree that statement is 100% true. I think that that's part of building the trust in a relationship with a client. I think that especially for the agencies that you see that maintain the relationships with their clients for over the years, there are the agencies out there that just come in and get them to sign on the dotted line and blow out as many programs as you can. And if you retain some, you retain some. And I've never rolled that way, and clearly neither do you guys. And I feel like it's what we're saying to our clients with Beyond is the same thing. It's like, listen, we don't know right now, but we're going to figure out the answers together, and we're going to help you guys navigate this. And, and again, that's part of why I feel really passionate about what we're trying to do with EventSpeak, and at least giving the event community a common voice. And, in this day and age, a social platform is by far what's uniting us. It's interesting because, I feel like there's a lot of folks that are, oh God, social media, it's poisonous, it's this and it's that. And like anything else, there's the pros and the cons of it. And I think now more than ever, we're so lucky as we're sitting here right now with you in New York City and me in Los Angeles having this conversation in real time over Zoom. We're very fortunate that we've got technology and we can do so much more than we could have even a handful of years ago. And so many clients are talking on every aspect of the industry of how they're incorporating digital and how, virtual events are a thing that are definitely going to be part of the future. And as you mentioned, you're already seeing that with some of the art galleries and people that are, immediately starting to think like, well, what do we do? Now, as I mentioned, you are a New Yorker, and it's no secret New York was really extra hit hard with COVID. Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like living through it? And are you guys now, are you seeing it more on the mend currently in New York as it was even, just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what you're seeing because you're inside all day. I also have, received the nickname of Quarantine Queen from a lot of people. I'm on the side of extra precautious. My mother's out in the Hamptons with my father, and I, want to go out there, but every time I go to the grocery store, I feel like I have to quarantine again for 2 weeks. She has diabetes and asthma, and, my father has high blood pressure. Like, it's not worth, the risk isn't worth the reward. I know eventually I'm going to break down and go out there, but I think because of that, I mean, I've gotten a little bit, as we understand a little bit more, and as I have my mask and I get the routine and it's kind of getting used to the new normal, I'm better than I was, like being scared to go to the grocery store, going out for a walk. New York is, I live in a very quiet place, but the second the sun comes out, people are outside. A lot of people aren't social distancing still. A lot of people don't have masks on. And it's a little, it's scary. And, I live in an apartment building. So me going to get my mail, I can encounter 3 people. I can, going to do laundry. I use a laundry room with everyone in the building. So this time has really taught us on a number of levels how we are one, and we're one community, and what you do affects me, and vice versa. So I'm trying to do my part by being extra conscious. I don't think I've been out in like 2 days. I don't think I've left the apartment. I got my mail the other day. So tomorrow's going to be a big day when I drop off my maintenance check. Around the block. I mean, I now have my to-do list. Used to be, I look at the level of productivity in the beginning of this versus now is astounding. Now, things like where I would recount my day, I make my bed every day. I take a shower every day. Now that's all become things I've done today besides sit on the couch. And I think there is this level when you go from that height of productivity, right, where we had like 6 events in 4 different cities in 7 days. Like, we're going from that to this is extreme. And I think it's hard. It's still, I'll be honest, it's hard for me to get around not having the in-person aspect of events. And I know that I'll adjust, and I know we'll make things happen, and digitally and virtually, because that's what we have right now to work with. But I always, events are so stressful, and the planning process is so stressful. And the big reward, the thing that keeps event producers coming back and producing, is seeing people's reaction to your work, having a good time, smiling, drinking, noticing all the details that you spent, that maybe you were like, do we have to do this? It's one more thing to do. And then seeing that pay off, that's the reward. That's the drug that keeps you coming back after that adrenaline. So I miss that. I was telling the girls, we still have a weekly happy hour, or 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes in between, with my team. And I was just telling them that I had a Zoom birthday party for my friend last weekend with all my high school girlfriends. And I was laughing so hard, and I came out of this like huge crying belly laugh, and I looked around and I was alone. And it was so weird, because it was one of those things where I had the emotion of being with them, but it was virtual. And then I realized that it was this really weird feeling to not be with them laughing and kind of stepping back, having that emotion that I would usually get with them, which does say something about the power of getting a good feeling from Zoom, but then realizing, oh my God, I'm alone in my apartment. But
no, I know exactly what you mean. I do. Not to interrupt you. It's just, I think it was interesting. You literally made the point I was about to make. I said, well, that does say something, though, that there is something there to doing something from a virtual perspective. Like yourself, doing happy hours with my friends, countless meetings with my business partners and associates. And there are definitely those moments. And you realize like you're essentially alone physically. But when you're in that moment, like you forget about it. Like you're really kind of engrossed into the stimulus in front of you. Like, it's just maybe another level of events coming to explore that we're now being sort of forced to really explore that now more than we would have BC, as you said. You know what I mean? So on a final note, I always like to take the last question and appeal to a lot of the things I'm sure we're all spending plenty of time doing, which is enjoying some good food and enjoying some good drinks. I know you and I have knocked back a few cocktails in our time and ordered lots of delicious food from New York. Are you loving anything in particular? What was that one pizza place that you love so much that we used to get?
Ignaccio's?
That's the one.
Yeah, I had like a bad, as I said, I'm quarantine queen. So I had a really awful experience when I ordered ramen. It wasn't awful. I'm being very dramatic, as everything is right now, and bigger than it needs to be. But where like the contactless delivery was not adhered to, and it was not contactless, and there was no mask and gloves, and it just gave me so much anxiety. So I've been cooking a lot. And, I don't cook for one, let's just say that. I've started intermittent fasting to curb that, 4 p.m. dinner and then 10 p.m. dinner, which is just, I always love pasta. So that's like my go-to quarantine meal. In terms of alcohol, I've been cleaning out my cupboard. That's one of my tidying things. I'm just finishing old bottles, just getting new ones in.
That sounds like a tough job.
Someone's got to do it. I will say, and a lot of people question me on this, and I do plan, I'm pumping up my bike. I got my bike pump. So I'm going to be biking down to Lucali is doing, which is the best pizza that you can't usually get into in Brooklyn, is really probably not even 10-minute bike ride from my house. So I definitely plan on doing a pickup there. But I did order pizza from Naples. Italy. And it comes cryogenically frozen.
Wow.
And it is so good. I recommend it. It's called Taglia di Napoli, and I recommend it.
You're going to need to text that to me. And you literally just, I can literally, like, I'm salivating when you mention Lucali's. If anybody watching out there, if you're in the New York area and you get the chance to go to Lucali's, it is arguably some of the best pizza you will ever put in your mouth in your life. And I'm so jealous of you, Austin, that you get access to that. Austin, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today here on EventSpeak. Ladies and gentlemen, Austin Fremont of Fremont Blue Events. You can find him on the web at fremontblueevents.com. And of course, here on EventSpeak with me, Big John, it's www.eventspeak.com. Please be sure to take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.